Let's talk to free speech activist and a former teacher, Robert Sharp. Good evening, Robert.
Not quite a teacher, Kevin. I am a school governor.
Okay,
I
just as
won't
good.
say
Just
which
as good.
school. I won't say which school I'm from, that I'm the governor of, but it's an infant school, so hopefully this issue won't arise for us there. But I am a freedom of expression activist as well.
So what's going on here is, I don't want to be aggressive towards the protesters. I know that they've been upset. They take these issues very much to heart, as we know. However, it seems to me that what this teacher was trying to do was, as I said earlier, was to arm his pupils with knowledge and say, look, here is a cartoon of the Prophet Mohammed that caused great offence in France, in Paris, in the satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo, to the extent that protesters charged on the office and shot people dead there. So it caused great controversy. He's teaching the kids the facts. What these parents seem to want to do is to censor their education and make sure that they don't get the facts. Is that what we want in this country?
No, and you're absolutely right that children should learn about blasphemy and about censorship, and they should learn about the Charlie Hebdo massacre, and they should learn about the satanic verses furore that preceded it, and they should learn about blasphemy throughout history, from Galileo to sort of more recent controversies around the life of Brian, or the Love That Dare to Speak Its Name, a poem about Jesus having gay sex. All of these things should be on the table for discussion. They're certainly part of our history, our literary culture, and our discourse. So they should know about it, and Muslim children should absolutely know about it, because they will be at the forefront of fighting the kind of extremism we saw in Paris on that fateful day. So yes, they absolutely should learn about it. I would like to, the actual context of this particular controversy isn't clear.
Well, I mean, I think we can take it that this teacher was not putting the cartoon on the desk of the kids for a laugh. It was a lesson about blasphemy. I think we can work out where he was coming from. He was trying to illustrate a particularly egregious example of what was seen as blasphemy, at least by the Muslim community. Now, these protesters, Robert, was saying, oh, no one should have the right to offend us, to be offensive. Well, I'm afraid in this country you do have the right to offend people, and being offensive is not against the law. Therefore, this is a freedom of speech issue, and I'd like to know why the headmaster of this school has unequivocally apologised for what this teacher did, whereas I'm struggling to see what it is that he did wrong.
Well, as I said, I'm a school governor, and so I actually feel for the headmaster. If you're ever on the end of a Twitter storm, it can be a form of censorship in itself. I can imagine how the school authorities feel quite embattled. They might have made a misstep. I'm not really interested in criticising that decision, even though in hindsight, you and I can say that it was perhaps a mistake. You're also right to say that there's no right to not be offended. We should also remember, though, that there is a right to take offence, and a lot of the protests,
yes, I agree with that, yeah,
the school are moaning about it, writing angry emails to the teacher, is a form of free speech in itself. So what isn't acceptable, and I think there's emerging consensus on this, is that naming the teacher in such a way that he's had to go into hiding, that's unacceptable, and violence, threats is never ever an appropriate response to speech that you don't like. I want to correct you on something. When you said there's no law against being offensive, actually, if you and your listeners support free speech, you should all get onto your MPs, because there are a few laws in this country that do criminalise.
Well, only if you conflate them with causing hate or something like that. There is no law against being offensive.
No, well, there's a communications law. If you're grossly offensive on Twitter or an electronic communications network.
But these protesters, Robert, seem to assume that since they are offended, that some sort of law has been broken. The Merseyside police made this mistake a couple of weeks ago, where they put a great big poster up saying, it's being offensive is an offence. It's not. It's not. And one thing I would say, cornerstone of British humour has always been religion. We like to laugh at our own religions. We laugh at the Church of England. We laugh at the Roman Catholic Church. Jewish people love to laugh at themselves. We all laugh at ourselves about it. And now, you see, the Muslim community have got every right to be out of the loop when it comes to this, but they ought to understand that it doesn't fit in well with our culture, that we're not allowed in any way to be jocular or offensive about their religion. It doesn't gel with us.
Kevin, when you say the Muslim community, whenever I speak to Muslims about this, most of them don't particularly care. There's a vast swathe of Muslims. Some are religious, some who are atheists or secular, non-practicing Muslims, if you like. It's a very diverse community. Many are particularly irritated that this kind of thing keeps happening, because they laugh along with you and I at satirical cartoons. So when we imply that the Muslim community,
they're not all the same. I agree with you there. Yeah,
if you don't mind me saying, it does actually feed in to other kinds of extremists at the other end of the political spectrum, who want to draw a line between them and us. And actually, what I would say is that the real line is between the extremists at both ends of the spectrum and the vast majority of the people in the middle, who want to be tolerant and also want to respect free speech. There's a kind of the people who are actually driving this from the religious side of things. They actually win certain sort of piety kudos points by taking a stand against, cartoons or blasphemy. And very often, my experience as a free speech activist working on this for 10 years is that behind every blasphemy controversy, there's usually someone getting some kind of political community kudos. It's someone with power within their community shoring up their position. Yeah. So I would look at the dynamics going on there in the people protesting. Equally, I'd like to have a look at the people on the other side who are very keen to it's very easy to kind of condemn condemn the outrage and to affirm the right to be blasphemous. In this country, it's actually very easy to do that.
Good. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. Let me just, before you go, Robert, just got to ask you this. What worries me about this is, for example, in the future, will we not show children footage and pictures and film of the Holocaust because it's not very nice and it's a bit offensive? In other words, will we censor our children's education? Because that's what these protesters are calling for, the censoring of education.
It's a big worry. Education syllabi do need to be planned properly. And when there's offensive content, just like with sex education, it's always better, and this is now me as a school governor talking out, it's always better to involve the community and contextualize it with the parents. But absolutely, we should learn about Shylock and the Merchant of Venice.
All right, Robert, time's running out, but that's a good note to finish on. Robert Sharp there, free speech activist and